Welcome to the Big Time Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches making the big time where they're at. I am your host, Gage Rozier. Today's episode is sponsored by TeamBuildr. TeamBuildr provides strength conditioning software to athletics programs around the country. Whether you write your own programs or want access to over 100 templates, TeamBuildr can make your program more efficient, more accountable, and smarter when it comes to measuring your team's effort in the weight room. Visit their website and start a 14-day free trial at teambuildr.com. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hey guys, this week I am joined by Coach Grant Darnell, who is in his third year as the head strength conditioning coach at Wayne State College, a Division II school in Nebraska. Big thanks to Coach Darnell. He worked with me on rescheduling a couple different times on some technology issues, so he has a lot of great stuff in this episode. You know, he's the first strength coach there at Wayne State College, so obviously that has a lot of challenges that came along with that and a lot of growing pains, but he's doing a great job there and has a lot of great insight for us. Before we get to the episode, I want to let you know of a special offer offered by TeamBuildr right now. If you visit teambuildr.com and start a 14-day free trial and use the promo code BIGTIME, you will receive the following complimentary templates: in-season and off-season football, general athlete development program, and a game day CNS prep session. We'll have a link to that in the show notes to where you can just hit a link and automatically populate it. I encourage you to take advantage of that free offer. Thanks for TeamBuildr for that. All right, so let's get this episode. Coach Grant Darnell. Thanks. Hey, Coach Darnell, I really appreciate you coming on the Big Time Strength Podcast with us. Why don't you get us going by explaining a little bit of your history through strength conditioning and where you're at right now?
Well, Coach, I greatly appreciate you having me. Very excited to be here. A little about myself, my history. I'm originally from Central Kentucky. Went to Montgomery County High School. From there, I went on to play college football at Lindsey Wilson College. Kind of a cool situation for me because I got to be on the first ever team in school history there. So from the moment I kind of stepped on campus, I was kind of a leader and a starter and a captain, and all that was very fun for me. After college, I went to Murray State University as a volunteer assistant strength coach. While I was at Murray State, it was a great experience for me under head strength coach Mike Rhodes, who oversaw basically every Olympic sport there. And so from day one on campus, I was practically the lead assistant for 10 or so Division I sports, which was awesome and a very good experience, and had to learn very quickly and grow up very quickly. After 8 months there, I was blessed to get a graduate assistant spot at University of Louisiana Monroe, where at first I was the head of the track throwers and beach volleyball and indoor volleyball. And then after one semester, I was the head of baseball at UL Monroe, and then kept volleyball, beach volleyball, and then also got to assist with football. And then toward the end of my time, we actually split from a main program to having all our coaches write special programs for each position. So then I got to program for quarterback specialist. From there, I went to Kent State University as a full-time assistant under Bob Lemieux. I spent a year at Kent State where I oversaw men's, women's track and field, assisted with football, working predominantly with O-line, D-line development, and then basically assisted with almost every Olympic sport. They have 2 weight rooms at Kent State, bouncing around there. And then after 1 year of that, at 25 years old, I was fortunate enough to be the first strength coach in school history here at Wayne State College, Division II school in Wayne, Nebraska, which is northeast Nebraska, playing in Northern Sun Conference. Here I oversee all 11 of our programs. The only thing that I don't specifically program for is our track and field program, as their coaches still like to handle that, but I still oversee our facility and our staff structure and all that. But yeah, like I said, I'm going now in my third year here at Wayne State College.
Well, awesome. It's a lot of great experience you've had and then led you up to your role you're in currently. And we were talking a little bit before that you were the first strength conditioning coach at Wayne State College. So maybe talk a little bit about some of the challenges with starting a strength conditioning program and working with sport coaches and maybe some of those experiences you had being the first strength coach there at Wayne State.
I think my first challenge was the interview process itself, in terms of I'm only 25 years old, and at that point I was only 25, and I completely embraced that. It's not like you can hide it.
Right.
And so I upsell what I was good at. I was going to be someone that was going to come in, work as hard as I could, truly invest in our student athletes, And then at the same time, tell a vision to our administration here at Wayne State of something much larger than what they even had envisioned. From another side in which there were a lot of challenges was just we're essentially a new entity. We're a new department. I already had an amazing facility here at Wayne State that was purchased 8 or 9 years ago. So all that was done. Now it's setting up a department and policy and procedure and how we're going to schedule things, how we're going to utilize my time, how different teams are going to be treated differently based on in-season, preseason, all of that, just departmentally. And so there were a lot of I report straight to our AD. So there were a lot of conversations when I first got here in terms of how we were going to do things departmentally, I had to spend a lot of time writing policy, procedure, going over that with our SWA and our compliance officer in terms of making, just because you write a policy procedure, it has to fall under certain criteria with the NCAA, with the college itself, administratively. And then, as you talked about our sport coaches, I think one of the biggest questions any strength coach gets is how do you deal with coach conflict? And I've been so blessed here at Wayne State that when I got here, our sport coaches were just so happy to have an expert in the field that they more or less let me do whatever I wanted from day one. They more or less said, you're the expert. We believe in you. You were hired for a reason. And looking back, there was a lot of proving myself in that first year and first semester that I didn't even think about at the time. It was just me going in and doing a job and doing the best I could. And obviously you're going to be evaluated by all your coaches. There was a lot of talk early on between myself and all 8 of my head coaches in terms of really getting a pulse of their program and how they do things and how I can be an extension of each of their staffs. A couple programs were a little bit slower in terms of here, take everything away and do it. But eventually here now I have no conflict with any of my coaches, and they more or less trust me and my staff to do whatever I need to do to get their teams to be in a position to succeed.
Well, that's always a plus. And as you're going through kind of your process there, I was reflecting back on, when I interviewed for the job, because we had very similar experiences. I interviewed for the head job here at Williamsville College right out of graduate school, and young guy as well. And one of the questions I got was, what makes you think at your experience level you can lead 400 athletes with no staff? And it's a great question. And so I did exactly what you did. I had a vision of what I wanted, and I didn't hide the fact that I was young. I was honest that there will be bumps in the road, but I also have a very good network of coaches that I can learn from. And I think what you said there about don't try to hide the realities of what the situation is, I think that's a really good point that you made there that I wanted to hit on. So as you've created that department, you've had to, I'm sure, establish core values and mission statements and all that during that process. So let's talk a little bit about, what are your core values for your department?
The number one thing for my department, first of all, me as a person and our department as a whole, we want to develop both better people and better athletes. And I feel like even though I've been at the Division I level where some of the kids have gone pro, we still want to develop better people first and foremost. There are life lessons that come out of moving weights and being a part of a team. And we should never shy away from that. In terms of athletic development, I always think that my number one job is to put our programs in the best possible position to succeed on game day. And so sometimes that's a matter of me swallowing my pride and saying, I need to alter my lift right now because our coach did this, and this, and we got to get these kids prepared for game day here and here. I do put a great emphasis on program success and individual success. And although we're not the ones calling the shots at the end of the day, I think we need to put our kids in a position to be successful. So that's probably one of my biggest beliefs. Now, obviously, when I say put our kids in the best possible position to be successful, injury prevention is going to be huge, maximizing athletic development, managing stress, managing movement patterns and creating better movement patterns are all kind of a part of that in terms of the greater whole.
You mentioned managing stress. Is there any particular way that you're monitoring stress with your athletes?
Number one, I more or less know a lot about what my kids are doing in terms of academically, and then I meet with my coaches multiple times a week generally, so I know what's going on in practice. For most of my teams, I have them weigh in every day. For football, it's great for me to have them weigh in every day because I'll work with 36 kids at once, and the biggest waste of time, in my opinion, is going through and calling roll, saying, is so-and-so here, so-and-so here. Yeah. That just lost minutes of my time. So if I can have them weigh in when they get there, I can look at their body weights right then and tell, if we're down a little bit and it's close to a stressful academic time, I'll pull back right then and there. Basketball in season is kind of a big one for us because we'll take a 12-hour road trip to North Dakota. And so knowing what our travel schedule is, that's big for us. Once in a while, I'll pull the vertec out and have a vertical jump. And then at the same time, if a lift starts and we're supposed to be hitting certain weights, certain percentages, and the bar is not moving the way it needs to, we're still coaches and we still need to be able to see stuff with our eyes and be able to adapt at any time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always trying to find ways to manage stress, and I don't think we could do a better job of that here. So I like the body weight. It's an easy one we could do. What is the culture of your program? What are those, you talked about developing, people as well as athletes. So what are those behaviors that you're trying to develop within your culture?
For me, we have a certain standard and a certain expectation here with every one of my teams. Now, people always ask, how do I treat our male and female teams differently? It's the same message. It just gets delivered slightly different is what it kind of comes down to. But one, I talk about having a championship standard. If it's not good enough to win a championship, then it's not good enough. It fails to meet the standard. There are times with football that I'll say, do you really think Nick Saban's letting his players do this? Well, why would we allow that here? And then another thing that we talk about here is if it doesn't help us win in this particular time, then it doesn't matter. If we're training, we are training that day. A lot of kids will talk about music or something like that. I've never had a rapper or anything like that win us a championship. And so regardless of anything else, when we're in here, we're taking care of business, and there's a certain standard in which we will abide by.
So what are those male-female differences? Maybe give an example of how you would deliver a message to the men teams you have and the women teams.
Again, a lot of it goes back to being an extension of your individual coach. So if a coach is a little bit harder on their team, I know I can be a little bit harder on the team. If a coach is a little more laid back and he doesn't believe in a certain discipline style, which we don't really have any of those, then I would have to modify that. I'm always a big believer in knowing your kids as well. And so some kids need a hug, some need a kick in the butt, and you got to know the difference between the two. And so, I'm a 6'2", 240-pound coach. If I were to yell and scream at my female athletes, especially my young ones, they're going to be more scared and intimidated than anything else.
Yeah.
My male athletes, a lot of times they thrive on that. Now, you got to know who's going to thrive on it and who's not, but a lot of times they do thrive on that.
Yeah, that's all great stuff, Coach. Let's talk about ways you've acquired additional funding. I'm sure with the starting department, you're not funded completely. So let's talk a little bit about some ways you have acquired some additional funding.
Well, I'm in year 3 right now, and this is my first year I have a budget. And my budget is only a couple $1,000s. And the main reason I got a budget, I think, is because prior to this, I came out of athletic administrative budget, and everything I wanted to purchase, I had to go straight to the AD. I had to knock on his door and say, hey, boss, can I get $200 for this? Can I get $50 for this? Can I get $20 for this? And I think it got to a point where he was just so tired of me asking for small amounts of money that he ended up buying me off, which is great. So, I mean, that's the first thing is part of having my vision. Our AD knew that it was going to take some funds to do it, but being persistent and being professional, and every time I do meet with them and saying, hey, I know we don't have an unlimited budget, but this is something that would help us is big. So that's kind of first and foremost in terms of administrative. With our nutritional supplies, that comes out of each of our individual sport accounts. So some teams will partake in nutrition, some won't. Completely up to them. It's something that our coaches as a whole see a large benefit in. In terms of fundraising, it's actually the way our college system is here. It's almost impossible for me to fundraise without having to jump through, as I say, 15 flaming hoops.
Yeah.
It all goes back to accounting and administrative. And now that I actually have a budget code in a department, I think I can do a lot more than my first 2 years. My first 2 years, if I were to get funds, there was nowhere for them to go.
Yeah.
Sorry,
continue.
Oh, no, go.
I was gonna go off your nutrition piece there. You said it came out of individual team budget. What kind of stuff are you offering?
Okay, so football and a few of our teams, we work with Glambia, which owns Optimum and BSN Nutrition. We'll do Gold Standard Whey, BSN True Mass 1200, and BSN Synthes 6. And what they do is they sell us the powder in a 10-pound bags, and every one of our kids get a shaker cup for free. So that's a partnership we have with them. They're just now getting in the collegiate market, so it's great for us, and it's great for our kids. It's a trusted brand. Football, we'll actually do peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in season, and then as spring ball starts. So I'll actually go work with the local grocery store here in town and get those kids a peanut butter sandwich for every workout.
Awesome.
A peanut butter sandwich and a scoop of protein comes out to be about 75 cents a kid per workout. So a couple times a week, that's really not bad when it comes down to it, especially for the calories per penny. Soccer does BSN Synthes 6 bars. The bars are about $1 a bar. First, they taste good. Anything that we give out is going to have to taste good, or else kids aren't going to consume it.
Right.
So that's first and foremost. We got a few samples of those and had our girls try those out. They're balanced. It's a wholesome food, whereas in the past we found that brownies and cookies and stuff like that is what they normally turn to, especially on long weekend games. So we'll do bars with them. Basketball does chocolate milk. They'll probably switch to powders within the next year as well. And it kind of, again, comes down to every sport coach and what they see as fit. I think, in the Division II level, it's just really hard with travel and finding alternatives and kind of giving our kids a chance to even succeed, especially when you talk to baseball, softball that are gone 3, 4, 5 days at a time.
Coach, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Sorry, I lost you there for a second. All right, so let's pick up with some training. Let's go ahead and switch gears here. Let's talk a little bit about your training philosophy.
Training philosophy, ground-based, multi-joint. I want to meet the needs of the individual athlete. I think that's something that makes this place a little bit different than most, especially at the Division II level. The amount of time you get to work with your kids in terms of weeks out of the year is much less than at the Division I level. And so I'll have them clean, I'll have them squat just to see where everything is. It's not maximal loads or anything like that, but from a technical side, I'll see where all that is. And then from there, I'll design a program to meet those individuals where they're at. Instead of taking them 40 steps back, spending half my semester having to reteach everything, and before I know it, the semester's halfway up and we're back to zero, I'm going to try to build a program for our guys to be successful right then and there, and then continue to coach them as they go. But every one of my teams is slightly different in terms of what we do, but everything is more or less tier system, and it's ground-based multi-joint.
Love it. We're kind of on the same boat there. We try to do a lot of those same things, and I'm really curious because we're in a very similar situation, same level and similar staffs. How do you use a block or level system? I mean, how do you separate those training ages and experience as far as like logistically manage it within workouts?
I've got 12 racks here, and then I'm fortunate enough this year that I have my own graduate assistant, plus I have a graduate assistant from the Human Performance Department that's a former player of mine. So With larger groups, I'll have 3 coaches here that are all nationally certified,
Awesome.
which makes life so much better. So we'll have different racks sometimes doing different things, especially in our Olympic variations. The whole group might clean, but then I might have 2, 3, 4 racks doing clean pulls or doing clean technique work with one of my assistants. And that, to me, that's the easiest way to kind of divide and conquer.
How do you do a lot of professional development stuff with your staff? I mean, how are you managing your staff?
I think first and foremost, I'm here to help my staff in any way possible. And so the more they want to know, the more I'm willing to give out and teach. We're always listening to a few podcasts together, or we'll get on YouTube a lot. We'll call up some people and talk to them in terms of professional development. I'm a big believer, though, in practicality in what we do. The best way to develop professionally, in my opinion, is to go out on the floor and coach these kids.
Yeah.
There's no replacement for that. I could talk to the greatest strength coach in the world, read every book I can, but unless you can truly coach, your knowledge isn't useful.
I think that's a great point. I think I know myself, I get lost in that sometimes. I want to think about stuff and get all these plans, and then it's about putting into action and going coach. And I think that's a great point, Coach.
Yeah, and I think in working for Bob Lemieux at Kent State, he used to call the strength coach is the greatest chameleon ever. You better be able to adapt at any point in any time, and not only be able to adapt, but have your student athletes not know that you've changed plans here and there, and have them think that was all part of the system.
Yeah, there is a lot of value in that. There's no doubt about it. That's awesome. I love that point. All right, Coach. So let's wrap this up. I really appreciate you spending your time, and for those listening, Coach has been awesome because I had to reschedule this 4 different times due to technology issues, and we've even had a little bit within this episode. So I really appreciate him spending some time with us today. 4 quick questions here to wrap it up. You ready to go?
Ready to go.
All right. What is your favorite office snack?
Oh, the BSN Synthesis bar.
I'm gonna have to try those out. I've never had that, and you're making me want to buy some. So I'm gonna look that up. What's your favorite flavor of that?
Salted toffee pretzel, and I don't even like pretzel.
All right, I'll give it a shot. All right, second one. Favorite caffeine source?
Ooh, right now, NO Explode.
Explode. I used to drink that a while ago. I haven't had that in a while. All right, number 3. 15 minutes to train. What are you doing?
Heavy rows.
Heavy rows. What's your favorite? Just barbell row?
I get on a kick right now, dumbbell rows.
Yep. All right, last one, Coach. What's another small school coach who's killing it and deserves a shout out?
I got a couple. I want to give a shout out to Travis Nichols at Missouri Southern State, one of my best friends who I GA'd with. And then Andy Parker just took the head job at Hartwick College. He's going to be the first head strength coach there. And so I'm going to help him through some of his stuff early on, but I know he's going to kill it.
Hartwig College?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. All right, Coach, again, this has been great. I really appreciate you spending some time and sharing some knowledge with us. I'll put all your contact info on the show notes. Is there a particular way if people want to reach out to you that you prefer to get contacted?
And I'm happy any way they want to reach out to me. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, email, phone, any way that I can help anybody, I am more than happy to do so.
Right on, Coach. This has been great. And again, I appreciate it. Good luck this off season. Get those guys rolling, the rest of your staff. I wish you good luck.
Thank you. Good luck to you as well.
Thanks, Coach.